Well, hello everyone. Here to show you the number 25 coloring activity right here. As you see right here, is I went ahead and drew right here. It's like say a portrait right here of it's like that would be me right there. And you see right here is that basically that shows right here that the typical image that more likely you may see that was me right here whenever I was about 25 years old. It was that knowing about the type of I don't know what type of shirt I would more likely be wearing, but it was like one of those light gray ones. But light gray one is like the way it was like the type of design I had on that T-shirt. I think it was a dress shirt that I was wearing whenever I was first started joining to the YouTube page. It was, but if most of us wonder about that, so far, like we say for Mattymc25, what does it stand for? It is, and I can tell anybody that it stands for basically that I may have said before. It stands for how old I was whenever I first joined the page. I think I may have been 26 at the time, but anyway, that was whenever I joined in it's like the face onto besides Facebook, but I whenever I joined say on YouTube, it was that I went ahead and decided that to go ahead and use for 25. It is 25 that really that presented is like so far as that the things that I wanted to do whenever I was 25, and one of those, of course, besides getting my license, is that I can remember that I had gotten that whenever I was 24, but on the other hand, that was like that decide to go ahead and use to say the number 25, and with some people that may think that so for 25 exactly about what does it stand for, and I can tell anybody that you can maybe stand for a number of things. Is that with this activity right here of talk about, you say for 5 times 5 it is, you say for 25, and right here is I would show right here is that right here is that the hands of is with the hand you count on 5 count 5 from each finger. It was. It's like between the thumb and of course right here is the other. It's like the other 4 fingers, and count up 5 off of each one of them. It's like for 25 it is, and then add it up one at a time. It is, and basically though that for 25 times 25, it's like a top. It's like the way I usually do it is like say multiply these numbers right here. I guess a lot of times between like which calls like you see the remainder. It is, if most of us have taken any type of long division, it was, and but any type of long division or multiply any big numbers, it is, and basically that you have right here is you have the number right here 5 and 5 right here to make say for 25 it's like for 20 you carry the 2. It's like for 6 it is for 625 it is, and most of the time though that's that's really one way of how to what you call solve a math problem. It is such as what you call if you were to multiply that. It's like if you were to add up all the numbers using like what you call these little the dots right here, and plus I just like go ahead and color in those right there with red. But if it's like color in these right here a little bit, say with red, and a lot of times, if this is usually how I used to solve my times tables, it was, if I were to be doing any type of times tables, it was, I would imagine that do with these, like what you call these, that a lot of times at the math teachers at my school, it was that, a lot of times it was red, but they could have, I guess they can be in different kind of colors. That's like right here was like with the orange, they could be like what you call colored orange right here. Or if it's color blue, if you say they can maybe use like what you call blue, it's like talk about if they give you like what you call these markings. It is the similar things that more likely that you may see on a bingo card. If most of us have played bingo before, is that those type of say pings. I say that more likely that you would maybe see on a bingo card. It is, and then I can maybe use yellow. It's like I talk about. I went ahead and provided at least maybe about 32 colors. I would say I would have about 32 colors, markers, and then crayons right here. But see here, used a yellow. But other than that you have right here for number for 25, and right here it looks like kind of like a puzzle right here, to where if most of us were kind of look at this at like kind of like an angle, it is that kind of looks like a puzzle, to where that if you want to line it up, and then that there may be like what you call like the numbers, like so far as you add up one number, say one number at a time, it is to with for whatever the from the amount from the math problem that you could be counting, as so far as it starts from 5, and then for 5, 6, 7, of course it could go from 5, 15, and 20, 25, and 35, and 45 it is. And a lot of times with anybody would say that if most of us have looked at like what you call like a math chart, it is, and knowing about that the numbers sometimes seem like that they start out pretty small, and then whenever you start multiplying that, times maybe times 6 or 7, and like talk about it's like for 25 though. But I could tell anybody here that I have not always really been like what you call like the mathematician, it is. But other than that, like talk about right here, I can tell you like today we are going to be talking about math problems. But other than that really, I would probably say that to anybody, even to maybe some young kids, it is of knowing about that with math problems, though that a lot of times, though that learning the basics about how to work the basic math, it is, that may not be for for everyone, it is. Of talk about right here is like maybe a tulip, or say with at least 25 sides, it is. And knowing about that you have right here is a flower with about 25 sides, and then I could tell anybody the one part that I wanted to talk about this activity right here, so far as time say for Mattymc25, is basically that knowing about that really I don't know if my channel, more likely that with my my YouTube channel, more likely if it'll last forever or not. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that with the way I think about them, like that for whatever that comes to my mind, that more likely I'll go ahead and use, such as if most of us have seen on my YouTube page that I added quite a bit of posted quite a bit of coloring activities, based on what you call like other videos that you may have seen that are related to like what you call like a few other ones besides say the Rabbit TV, or if it's the Blu-ray player, or anything related to cars, coloring, or any type of coloring activities or anything like that. And knowing about that any activities that I think about that really I may get ideas from a book, but then on the other hand too, that a lot of times I don't do no tracing or nothing. A lot of it, most of it, of course, the artwork, of course, is say done by me. It is, but it's like talking about it's like for freehand. It is a lot of times that I do it by freehand, but and that's usually that a lot of people probably say. But if I were to trace, it is more likely than I don't know. I might if I were to trace something, we ought to know that more likely that it's not gonna, may look maybe about the same, but on the other hand too, it may not be like what you call like the type of quality we would usually see right here. But on the other hand, that anybody probably think between tracing and drawing something, and a lot of times whenever I used to watch the paint shows, I usually think that whenever people would be watching people draw something, and a lot of times if they were say be tracing something, and a lot of times I'm like, well, like the tracing, it means that basically if you hold up a picture, if you hold a piece of see-through paper, through something, and then if you want to go ahead and draw, like say of an apple, it's like tie right here is like I say with an apple. You say trace an apple, it is, and you hold another piece of paper over that part right there, just to draw the same thing. It is. It's like talk about between copying and tracing. It is. And a lot of times, that I'm like wondering about that. It's like if it's the same size or not. But anyway, like with anybody would probably say about if you were to trace it, and then maybe you would be able to copy it just like what you see right there. Such as I'm like that that I might, yeah, a lot of things that more likely I may draw by hand, and like, try to draw the exact same thing. More likely that may be a little hard to do, of knowing about that they're about different sizes it is, and knowing about if you talking about maybe 5 3/4 or something like that. What is 5 3/4, and then other types of say mathematical type problem. But anyway, but so far as talking about say between tracing and then drawing, it is a lot of times I usually draw, but then let's just say if I were to trace, it is by holding a piece of paper, like see over this part right here, and then from there, and of course it's like is to kind of follow the say the line design of like what you call like the eyes, and then along with the nose, and then along with say with the mouth it is. And a lot of times with anybody would say, and then of course if I were to actually draw it, that more likely it's possible that it could be what you call like the see through, or I don't know. I'm like at the time I like that if I can really explain about that between tracing and drawing, it is that a lot of times I like drawing, because from tracing though, that a lot of times that anybody would probably say about between following for what you see on paper and then drawing it from there, from on the top, or if you can actually just follow it with your eyes. It's like from directly from your eyes, from what you can picture say on the blank surface say of the paper, to just draw out for what you can picture, of course from your mind, of course you say with the eyes. A lot of times I usually picture it that way, and a lot of times it's like usually a lot of times ever since I was a little kid, that's usually how I do it, is that I try to draw. It's like just by looking at it, and of course it's like for what I picture in my mind for for how to say the line design, how it works in this. But anyway, at the time, I'm like wondering about that a lot of the artwork that I do, that knowing about that basically that I can tell anybody here, like let's say with my YouTube page, that with the name that I went ahead and picked out, and knowing about that it's basically that what I say created, and then knowing about that a lot of times that tell anybody that I guess you say that a lot of my creations, of course, that I do, is that that's a lot of it is from from what I come up with, whatever ideas that I come up with. I would say at least 53, maybe 80% of what I do, because I know a lot of things that I may hear about on the news or see, or maybe something that I might see advertised or anything like that. I might go ahead and use an idea from there as well. But other than that talk about like for whatever ideas that I have, is that more than I'll go ahead and use. But just to be able to, if I were to do like what you call that sort of a video for whatever creations, of course, whatever ideas I come up with, a lot of times that I go ahead and work on the coloring from there. But other than that, like here is talk of say with an apple right here. If you say if we were to slice an apple up into like maybe about 25 different slices, is a type of say type of picture diagram, more like what that would look like inside type of a fraction it is. But your hair right here is me right here. Let's say with the facial hair, and then of course right here's with the shirt I'll be wearing. It's like that type of t-shirt it is, and then right here is your hair right here is like say pick that say a Rubik's cube it is. And a lot of times with anybody probably say about with math though, with math a lot of times it seems like that it is so complicated, and so confusing, that more likely that nobody really wants to mess with it. It is. It's like for math, if it's if math is going to be so complicated, then nobody wants to take the time to figure out whatever word problems or such and such, or if it's anything like that. But a lot of times I kind of use a cube. It's like talk about say we got the different block cubes size right here, and a lot of times it's like so far as 3, 4, 5, 6, something 9, and then I say 9, and then that would be about 11, 12, and along with 20. It's like so far as if there's at least 25 blocks all together, 25 square shapes all together. It's like for the Rubik's cube it is. And with anybody, I would say have their practice, of course, of how to solve the puzzle. Of course, it's like on a Rubik's cube it is. And a lot of times I'm like, trying to work this to where I'm like, trying to turn and say the cube. It is only with one hand, but a lot of people probably say about that. Really, I guess it's really not all that hard. And knowing about that you got right here is 3, 4, 5. That you have these 5, of course, that match one side. A lot of times that they say that so you get 5 match one side. But anyway, I use the cube right here as an example right here of like what you call for 25. It is for the number 25. It's like talking about if we were to solve a math problem. It is of knowing about that between what you call adding up, you say the decimal fraction. If it's adding up the amount, and of course subtracting that amount, it is. And then a lot of times, if we were to do the math about doing something maybe a little bit exciting, and like a lot of times, then the math teacher that I used to know is like used to say you count what you say with your fingers. It is. So far as besides say a calculator right here of talking about if you were to do a number of math problems using a calculator, if it's like a hold out your fingers. It is so far as 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5, or it's like so far as how many do you have left. It is. If you got 3 left, you got 4 left. It is, and of course with 5. Like multiply that, like so far as you say reverse, it is like say 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5. And I remember I had a math teacher at one time that she would go ahead. She would, if I can remember right, that she would say if you hold up 5 fingers and take 1, 2, and I think it was 3 or something like that. That she would be able to hold 2 fingers up or something like that. I think it was 2 fingers. And she would be able to hold up her 2 fingers after she would put 3 of her other fingers down. And then for whatever reason, if I can remember right, that one of those fingers I always try to leave up myself. But if most of us ever think about it like a science project, it is. So if we would do it like we say the typical science of knowing about if you want to, that these fingers a lot of times right here would not stand up straight a lot of times if we were to be doing any type of math problem. It is of knowing about that a lot of times that these fingers right here would a lot of times that, and if you hold up this finger right here, that more likely a lot of times it's like goes out with 3, and then of course with 4 right here, and then right here, and then of course we say with 5. A lot of times like say for 5 and 5. It is like so far as 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then right here, and then right here with 4, and it goes say for 1 right here. It's like so far as say with the thumb in it. But a lot of times I remember my math teacher a lot of times would look at this as like so far as like between holding up your fingers and then with 4 fingers, and then if you want to count on like what you call is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, 8, 9, or 10, 11, 12, and then along with say with the other. Would say with the thumb it is so far as tap it 8 times, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, to be able to get a particular answer to this, like so far as the count. But I can tell anybody here that one of the reasons to why I chose this like to do say for number 5 is like talking about between what you call is like between if you say so far as plus, and of course with minus. It is with minus, say talk about we say with subtraction, and then of course addition. It is, and so far as multiplication or if it's division, and it's like talk about it's like you're collecting of like between $25 and 25 cents. And I can remember I could tell anybody that a lot of times back those couple of years ago I thought that 25 cents was quite a bit of money back in those days, huh? But knowing about it, say with 25 here, with 25 that from the title that's on my page, it was knowing about if we were to actually do the math problems, it was of talking about say for 25, use like for say for 2500 it is 2500, and it's say multiply that, and then it gets bigger if it's going to be 2500 maybe times. See 2,500 times maybe 6,000, something like that. And a lot of times like the number more like it gets bigger. It is if you say work the math multiplication. It is. And I'll tell anybody here that they like a lot of times whenever the math seems like it gets bigger, and a lot of times I'm like multiply that times 6 it is for 25. You know, say times 6,000 it is, and I'm guessing it's going to be about you know, on average it's going to probably, you know, the number gets bigger, but I would probably say it's going to be about at least you know, at least you see here 16, but you know, between 1,600 it is. Say about, you know, 25,000, you know, times 6,000, more likely would be, I would say about 116,000 it is. So if I were to go ahead, and I may not even be close, huh? But so far as obviously between 0, 0, and then times, so far as times 6,000, let's say for 3000. It's like so far as talk about, oh, well, what do you know? It's like you got right here. It looks like to me, it's like with 0, 0, 0. It looks like it's a, you know, for 15,000. It is. So I'm like, how does it go? Goes by what you call is like for 15,000, 0, 0. And I'm thinking though that looks like about the right answer, about 15. Is it 15,000, or if it's what you call like for 15 million it is? But anyway, but so far it's between 25 and 25 it is. I'm like that half the time wondering about that if you added up all that, but so far as, you know, between 6,000 it is, and if we were to try to you know, work that the mathematic right it was of knowing about that. If we were to work the math right, you know, of 25 times 6, and maybe I could have used maybe just 5. You know, it's like for so far as 5, if that would have been about maybe 14 for 14,000 or something like that. You know, that's about what it looks like. But what it looks like for 14,000. But other than that, if we were to do the multiplication, right? You know, do say the math and multiply it times, you know, for whichever, you know, number say that remains in it. But I'm like at the time, I like if we were to do the math, it is that knowing about that you know, that we may think about, you know, the number seems like it gets bigger, because if we were to, like I, you know, mentioned before, is that if we were to say to add up, it's like, you know, for one you know, number at a time, and of course it's like so far as between the difference between addition and a multiplication, it is basically that you're, you know, from one group, of course, of different pieces, it is like I say from one group that you're adding that you're, you know, adding those particular, say, pieces of the group, you know, all together it is, and then knowing about, you know, more likely that's your answer it is. But really, I could tell anybody here, it's like between, if you add, you know, 5, you know, from each finger it is, say of the hand and say of the finger it is, and to be able to you know, add up all these right here to be able to equal, say, to the answer it is. And you know, from what you see right here on the cube it is, that you see right here is that knowing about that about, you know, about how many, you know, sides it is. It's like talk about, you know, each block that could contain about what you call is like maybe 5 different, you know, stripes it is, you know, stripes and spares, you know, say spaghettis, you know, or something like that. And then knowing about the, if you were to add those up, and then the numbers more likely they start getting bigger. So a lot of times with any kids will probably say about, if you were to do the math right, then more likely they talk about that, you know, 25 cents may not seem like a lot of money, but on the other hand too, that I don't know if I would recommend anybody, just like so far as if you think that money is hard to save, and then maybe you could maybe hide it in a certain place, you know, to use for later, as long as you lose it. It is, it's like you maybe to hide it and talk about that you may find some money somewhere, and then maybe be able to save it, you know, if you say keepsake. But I would recommend, like talk about so far as, you know, for the keepsake it is one way, of course, to save money it is. Basically, with anybody who probably say about a lot of times, it seems like whenever you do try to save money, and then you know how much is there, and then you wind up having to spend it for somehow, and you know, compared to having a bag full of money, and then having a certain amount of money that you know how much is in there, and like talking about the back whenever I was young, that a lot of times sometimes it seemed like that's how the only way I was able to save some money was just to kind of keep it all in like which cause in that spot where I just don't even bother to count to see how much is in there. Just put the coins in there, and a lot of times that they would add up. It was, but on the other hand too, that I could tell anybody here that. But so far as knowing about anything that more likely that I create it was of knowing about, it's like from based on say my channel it is of knowing about, I keep thinking about anything that more likely that I create that I don't know how long it's gonna last for. Like I may have mentioned before, but so far as for the number 25 it is so far as to say for between 25 spankings, and if it's on the part right here for like which is called like for 25. Say 25, say parts, you say of the flower it is, or if it's anything like 25 ideas. But 25 was the number that I picked, of course, for my channel. It was based on the fact about really, how old you had to really be in order to be able to come up with the ideas, and of course, just to do certain things. To say if it's related on maybe the paper or anything like that, and really that as long as you know what you're doing, or if you. It's like as long as you're safe on your hand too, that knowing about that for whatever that you want to think about that you may want to do, it's like during your spare time it is, such as if any kids wonder about that if any ideas that they may come up with about for whatever that they want to use, so far as if it's anything related to any type of building paper airplanes, or if it's science projects or anything like that, anything related to TV it is, makeup products or maybe painting or anything like that, of knowing about that you may have maybe 25 ideas and then maybe not knowing about where the beginning it is. But on the other hand too, that from this activity right here is basically talk about, say for number 25 here, is basically that so far as knowing about anything that more likely a lot of times I thought about is like anything that I created, of course keep thinking about it's not gonna last a very long time. But on the other hand too, that knowing about I keep thinking about more likely anything that I may create that more likely that may be useful it is. Just knowing about maybe just how to put it is like talking about like for any mathematical facts it is, or anything about how to solve a problem it is, and knowing about that if this was like what you call like the background image right here, go ahead and put like would say a background image. If this was like say a photograph, maybe taken on a webcam it is. But so far say for number 25, but anybody would probably think about that if they remember whenever they were 25 the things that more likely that they want to do whenever they were 25 it was. And was some people that may say that well, at least that you're old enough to drink it is, if you want to have a few drinks or such and such or anything like that. But on the other hand too, I would probably say that with any kids like talk about it's like if you turn the age of 25 it is, of so far as talking about the things that more likely you want to think about, such as getting a driver's license, and of course you're saying getting a good education it is, and then so far as concentrating on most important things of talk about say seeing with job, and of course with other education and other skills it is. But on the other hand too, that with 25 that basically that it's like for between channel 25 and of course we say number 25, it's like so far 25 degrees it is, knowing about that for the count to say up 25 it is. Based on about say for what that for what 25 stands for, basically means it's like so far as that I was 25 years old near I was maybe or 25 and a half. I think I may have been 26 at the time, but I was around 25 years old at the time whenever I joined YouTube it was. And a lot of times I keep thinking about, I'm like, yeah, for whoever who watches, it's like say my activity it is so far as for thanks for watching, and know about right here so far as say for number 25 is so far anything that I create that more likely say that to anybody say for enjoyment it is. And like I said that more likely that one of these days that that somebody that may say that maybe you can make a career out of say whatever that you do later on in life. But on the other hand, that I keep thinking about that that's possible. But on the other hand, and knowing about for whoever's interested it is, and knowing about is like that for whoever that thinks knowing about for whatever creative activity that they think about, say for my colorings, it is basically talking about with me is like so far as for what I can do, so far as to share for anybody who's interested, of course, of looking at so far as for what I can do, so far as my artistic skills and talents, it is so far as they say for number 25 coloring activity.